was laughing my ass off when I got my mother. I don't have any information to give you.
Why'd you giggle?
On the morning of August 10th, 2012, the Hendersonville police got an emergency call. Something was wrong at the Davis family home.
City police, fire, or medical?
I need both.
Is there a fire or did they just try to set a fire?
I think a fire has set in the game. I see the flames.
When firefighters arrived, the place was already going up in flames. Their first job was to put out the fire before it destroyed everything. At first, it looked like a terrible accident. Maybe Melanie Davis, the mother, had been caught in the fire and couldn't get out in time. But as they searched the house, they realized this wasn't just a tragic fire. When they found Melanie, it was clear she didn't die from smoke or flames. She had been murdered. Later, they discovered something even more chilling. Melanie had been hit in the head with a sledgehammer 12 times. The sheer force of the blows made it clear this was no accident. About 27 or 28 years ago, in one of the towns in Tennessee, Melanie and her husband Chris had a son named Zachary Davis. Zach also had an older brother named Josh. Unlike his outgoing brother, Zach was withdrawn and lonely. While most boys his age were out seeking fun and adventure, Zach was looking for a quiet corner to retreat into and disappear. He had no friends at school and no playmates in the neighborhood. Time passed, and in 2007, Chris, the father, discovered that his illness had progressed deeply, affecting even his bone marrow and slowly robbing him of the ability to move. This was possibly the hardest blow a man could face. Chris was diagnosed with Lou Gehrig's disease, a condition that progressively and irreversibly damages the central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and peripheral nervous system. Chris sadly came to terms with the fact that he might never get to see his kids grow up or fulfill his long-term dreams, and he gradually gave up. Chris's death was the first major blow to this family, throwing their lives off course for a long time. But something significant happened out of sight. The dormant volcano of Zach's mental illness began to erupt. In an attempt to save her son, Melanie reached out to a specialist named Dr. Freeman and sought to start therapy sessions as soon as possible. Based on Zach's earlier behavior, it wasn't hard to identify that he was struggling with mental health issues. But what shocked everyone was that during the very first session, Zach opened up about hearing voices in his head, especially his father's voice, which he claimed spoke to him every night. Dr. Freeman diagnosed him with schizophrenia and severe depression, a combination that is relatively rare in a 9-year-old. Children who lose a parent typically go through 3 stages: numbness, depression, and recovery. But Zach seemed stuck in an unknown place between the first 2 stages, unable to ever reach the third. Time went on. Eventually, Melanie decided to move the family to a new place, hoping the change would help them cope better with Chris's death. A new home, a new school, no memories of the past. A new life, but without their father. However, none of this helped pull Zach out of the deep pit he had fallen into. If anything, things only got worse. He barely spoke a word to his brother, who was his only friend. Let's not forget we're talking about the life of a 10-year-old boy here. Realizing the severity of the situation, Melanie tried to solve the problem through therapy, but nothing seemed to work. Let's go back to the day it all happened. During police questioning, Josh said he was in his bedroom when his mom died. He claimed he didn't know any details about what had happened. The only reason he even woke up was because of the smoke detectors going off. But that leaves one big question. Where was Zach?
Woke up around, I'm not sure what time it is, time of the thing was going off. And, at first I didn't know what it was. I thought it was like a sound in my room. Then I figured out it was a fire alarm. I was running around and I was looking for my brother upstairs in his room. He wasn't in there and I saw the fire was started in there. So I ran downstairs to get my mom and the door was locked.
The police had 2 possible scenarios for the disappearance of 15-year-old Zach Davis. The first was that Zach had been kidnapped by whoever killed Melanie and set the house on fire. The second, Zach himself was behind everything. The fire, the murder, all of it. To get to the truth, they launched a search team to find him. Luckily, it didn't take long. Less than 4 hours after the fire, police found Zach about 10 miles from the house, casually sipping on a can of Pepsi. He didn't resist and was immediately taken to the Sumner County Police Station for questioning. The detective started asking questions, but what he encountered in the interrogation room was far from normal. I don't know about you, but this didn't seem like the tone or demeanor of any 15-year-old kid. Something about Zach felt off.
It's the sheriff's office, and what we'd like to do is talk to you about something happened at your house, and that's what we kind of want to talk to you about. You want to go ahead and talk to us about what happened tonight?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. If you do, just Zach, what I want to do is make sure you understand that this is a waiver, right? Saying you're waiving your rights.
You've never been in any trouble, have you?
No, sure.
So, no trouble in school, nothing like that?
No, sure.
One thing that really stands out is Zach's voice. Completely monotone with no variation, almost like it's stuck on a single note. Now, if you combine that flat tone with his cold stare, his lack of movement, and his completely emotionless face, you get the picture of someone who, in that moment, feels absolutely nothing. At this point, there are two possibilities. Either Zach has an unusually high level of self-control and is consciously suppressing his emotions, which is pretty unlikely for a 15-year-old, or he's dealing with a severe mental health issue like schizophrenia. Given his history, the second option seems far more likely.
I understand that your father had passed away.
Yes, sir.
How did he pass away?
He died from Carrick's disease.
Pretty rough on you, wasn't it?
No, sir.
It didn't bother you?
No, sir.
I was told that it bothered you. That you were upset about your dad. Is that not true?
No, sir.
So it is true?
No, sir.
Pay close attention to this answer. Almost everyone who knew Zach, from his brother to his grandfather, even his classmates, knew one thing. After his father's death, Zach had a complete mental breakdown. I'm not talking about simple sadness or longing. He was utterly destroyed. I mentioned something about Chris's illness earlier. The cause of the disease is still unknown, but it starts with muscle contractions and weakness in the limbs. It progresses to the point where the patient loses control over their muscles, affecting their ability to move, speak, and even breathe.
You ever had to see a doctor for anything as far as you having problems with thinking about things or anything?
I saw he was there. Sure, I wasn't a very long direction of time.
What was that about? Who wanted to see a therapist?
My mother.
She did. Okay, so maybe just a couple times is all you saw. How long ago was that?
Year that one year.
You remember what year that was?
2008, I think.
As the investigation continues, the police also speak with Zach's grandmother. She points out something important. She believes that Melanie made a big mistake by stopping Zach's therapy sessions after just 4 sessions and not allowing him to complete the full course of treatment.
I went on at your house today, and I just kind of like you to kind of tell us what happened.
I killed my mom in her sleep with a sledgehammer.
Is there a reason why you did that?
Yes, sir.
Well, can you tell me why?
No, sir.
You can't tell me why?
No, sir.
Is it a reason you don't know why you did it, or you just don't want to tell?
I didn't know why I did it. Just in my tongue.
Okay. You do know why you did it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you set the house on fire too?
I tried to. I don't know. Actually, got the whole house on fire now.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, it did. I mean, a little bit, I think, but not bad or anything. Have you been having problems with your mom?
No, sir.
When Zach lies about his feelings toward his father, the investigator couldn't have imagined how quickly and honestly he'd respond to the next question about his mother's murder. But this interrogation is full of contradictions. For example, When reviewing Zach and Melanie's text messages from the day before the incident, things didn't seem bad enough to spiral into such a horrific event. Melanie texted, and a few minutes later, it appears they were planning to go to the cinema together. In fact, Melanie's last text, directed to Zach, said, clearly she hadn't noticed any signs of the dark plans forming in her son's mind, or even imagined the events that would unfold just hours after their movie plans.
What's Zach doing when you get home?
I think she's playing Xbox. We kind of keep to ourselves, I guess.
Okay, so you and Zach don't have a good relationship?
Well, no, we do. It's just like I don't know. Like he just kind of, stays to himself. He's kind of a quiet person, I guess.
Have you been having any problems?
He's always been kind of like quiet, I guess, odd.
Josh wasn't just Zach's older brother. He was also his closest friend and biggest supporter, especially during the tough times when Zach was bullied at school. The many caring messages they exchanged daily made it clear just how close their bond was. Josh, however, had a wide circle of friends and spent a lot of time with them. For Zach, it was different. There was only one person at the center of his world, his big brother.
What kind of person is your brother? Your typical male teenager. Typical male teenager? You two get along pretty good? Sometimes.
When you talk to people on the phone, who do you talk to? I mean, you got friends you chat with or anything like that?
No, sir. I usually only talk to my mother and my brother and my aunt.
So you don't have any friends other than your mother and your brother that you talk to?
No, sir.
The suspect seems to be telling the truth. He really didn't have friends outside his home and mostly spoke with his brother. But there was someone else Zach considered a friend. Investigators learned this from a note they found on his phone, written by Zach. Thursday, March 29th, 2012. I saw Mr. Voss at school today. From the way he looked at me, I could tell he hated me. I didn't know what to say to him, so I just kept walking. I really hope I can repair our friendship before I leave Tennessee. He's the only person I've met that has sincerely cared about me. He's like a father to me. I don't know what I did to cause this, but I hope it can be forgiven. Mr. Voss is also the only true friend I've ever had. This note reveals a few important things. First, it highlights how profoundly a teacher can unknowingly impact a teenager's life. Mr. Voss likely had no idea he was seen as a father figure or a lifeline for Zach. Second, it lays bare Zach's overwhelming loneliness. Every word drips with isolation. He was battling an internal monster with no one by his side to help him fight it. But here's the haunting question. Why, in the midst of all this, did Zach choose to kill the only people he considered his friends in this world?
When you get home and your mom goes to bed at 9, where are you and what are you doing in the house? Are you in the house?
I was in my room already planning everything.
You were in your bedroom or in the room where the fire was started?
The room where the fire was started.
What do you call that room?
What do you call it? Game room.
Game room? So you're in the game room planning everything?
Yes, sir.
All right. And how long does it take you to plan that?
Only a few minutes, but I waited for several hours to make sure everybody in the house was asleep.
How'd you make sure they were asleep?
I just waited and then checked on them.
Just checked on them? Opened the door and looked at them?
Yes, sir. I killed her at around 11 p.m., I think. And I think she went to sleep at around 9 o'clock.
Okay. When you killed her, what about your brother lives there with you too, right? That's the only person who lives with you?
Yes, sir.
Did you do anything to him?
No, sir. I was kind of expecting the fire to kill him.
Oh, you were? Okay.
Zach's motive for setting the house on fire wasn't just to destroy evidence, it was far more sinister. He intended to kill Josh as well. To ensure this, Zach locked Melanie's bedroom door, making it impossible for Josh to intervene even if he woke up. This wasn't a hasty decision or an impulsive act. Every detail of the plan showed intent, a chilling determination to eliminate not just his mother, but also his brother, the person who meant the most to him. The fire was meant to erase everything and everyone.
Where'd you get the sledgehammer at?
From my garage.
Okay, and what about, how did you try and set the fire?
First I tried to drag the lawnmower upstairs and empty the fuel tank in the room, but I couldn't do that, so I just poured a bottle of whiskey on the floor and left it on fire.
A bottle of whiskey?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And was that before or after you hit your mom?
After.
After, okay. How many times did you hit her with the sledgehammer?
I don't know.
I mean, any estimation?
I'd say at least 12.
12 times. Where did you hit her at on her body?
Around the head area.
Okay, was she sleeping at the time, or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, did she wake up and say anything to you?
No, sir.
Zach's responses reveal a chilling detachment from the world around him. No matter what question was asked, it was clear that his soul had completely hardened. One theory that police raise is that Zach, heavily influenced by everything he had seen, heard, and even read, had developed an obsession with serial killers. He meticulously followed news reports about them and began to idolize these criminals. In January 2012, Zach wrote a manifesto where he clearly outlined the persona he had chosen for himself. He wrote, "After reading dozens of news reports about killers, I believe I've found several consistent reasons why most killers are caught within a year. They rely too much on civilization. Most killers hide out in heavily populated areas or easily accessible areas. They don't migrate to other areas after several kills in a row. This makes the police in their area more alert and the citizens more cautious. Most rely too much on firearms or other weapons that produce loud noises. This will attract unwanted attention to their location." One of the key pieces of evidence that suggests Zach had been planning the murder for some time, and that it wasn't the result of a sudden outburst or mental breakdown, is the code found on the hammer handle. The police also discovered a handwritten key at the crime scene, which helped them decipher the code. After decrypting it, the message read, "Z Requiem." It seems likely that the first 3 letters of the code, Z, came from Zach's first and last name. As for the second part, Requiem, it could possibly be a reference to the sledgehammer itself, or even to the notion of death and mourning. These ideas remain speculative, but the fact that Zach had gone through the effort of encoding this message indicates a level of premeditation and planning. It's clear that he had been thinking about this crime for a long time, making him all the more dangerous.
Was your mom just bad to you, or?
No, sir.
Pretty good mom? Was she a pretty good mom, or?
She wasn't very good mom. She wasn't very good. I don't know.
At this point, there are 2 possibilities to consider. Either Zach is mimicking the responses he believes a serial killer would give to the police, trying to put on an act, or his mind has created a defensive mechanism to cope with the pain and suffering, effectively shutting down his emotional responses. This could be his brain's way of numbing the trauma, turning him into someone emotionally disconnected. At the same time, the initial theory, mental health issues playing a significant role in driving him to this point, still holds weight. It seems more likely that his actions weren't solely the result of a sudden impulse, but rather a deeper ongoing struggle within his mind, influenced by psychological factors.
Why did you hit her about 12 times within, why so many times?
To make sure she was dead.
Now everything is clear except for one thing, the motive behind the murder. Zach begins explaining his plans from the previous day, but it's a part of his story about the book he was reading that catches the detective's attention. The day before the incident, Zach had been reading a chilling book, and it was the plot that seemed to resonate with him. The main character in the story kills people with an axe, and in the film adaptation, the lead actor uses a sledgehammer instead.
Are you sure you didn't get any of your thought process from from that book?
Yes, sir.
So,
Assassination.
So do you think, so you're saying that's strictly coincidence?
Yes, sir.
So you didn't draw any kind of thought process from the book Misery as to how you killed your mother?
No, sir.
You know, Zach, we've been doing this a long time, and I mean, sledgehammer is a very unusual weapon to kill somebody with. So that's why he and I are asking that question, why a sledgehammer?
I would have used a knife, but I was worried that I missed the vital area.
Did you have any other type of weapons in the house that you thought about using?
Something about using a claw hammer.
A claw hammer?
Yes, sir.
I mean, you don't remember feeling anything? Did you cry?
No, sir.
Were you screaming when you're hitting her?
No, sir.
So you could rewind the clock and go back. What would you do?
I would probably kill Josh with a sledgehammer, too.
Do you still want to kill Josh?
Yes.
And you're not going to tell me why?
No, sir.
I'm really curious as to why. I mean, you said that he was the only confidant you had. You didn't talk to anybody else. Why would you want to get rid of the only person that you confide in and talk to?
I don't know.
Well, you said you don't want to tell me, so you do know. There's a difference in wanting to tell me and not knowing. You just told me you didn't want to tell me, so you do know why you want to kill your brother and you killed your mother. I would just like for you to share that with me.
I'd rather not, sir.
But you will admit that you know why you did it.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you always talk like you're talking to us now?
Yes, sir.
So if I talk to someone that knows you or a teacher, they're going to say, this is your demeanor. This is how you talk.
Most likely.
And so you're always monotone and robotic when you talk.
Yes, sir.
You ever laugh?
Sometimes.
What makes you laugh?
Various things.
Very good.
Give me an example.
Well, I was laughing my ass off when I killed my mother.
You were what?
I was laughing when I killed my mother.
You were laughing? Why were you laughing?
I don't know.
Zach isn't wrong in this regard. This type of inappropriate laughter is common in people with schizophrenia. However, the issue is that throughout the entire interrogation, he hasn't even smiled once. This could be another indication that the suspect is consciously controlling his emotions to appear more menacing or intimidating. And finally, we get to the last question from the interrogator and the strangest reaction we saw from Zach throughout the entire interrogation. A reaction that is completely unexpected from someone in this situation.
Do you always look at people with your eyebrows?
I don't know.
You've been doing it all morning. Do you do that? Is that a habit, or is that something that you're just starting to do?
I guess it's a habit. I've never really noticed.
You never really noticed?
No, sir.
Nobody's ever said anything to you about it?
No, sir.
Why'd you giggle?
It's just... Yeah,
I mean, you don't know that you do that right there?
no, sir.
Okay. I'm not picking on you, I'm just... It looks kind of evil when you do that, I'm gonna have to say. I think you know you're doing it. And you're smiling about it, so I think you're pretty aware of what you're doing.
No, I didn't realize I was doing it.
Yeah, you did.
Let's move on to closing and wrapping up the case. In court, the central question for issuing Zachary Davis's verdict, as you might guess, was his mental condition, whether he had the ability to think and distinguish right from wrong. But before issuing the final verdict, we need to pay attention to the contradictory statements he made about the motive for the murder. He once told his doctor that he kept hearing his father's voice, and that voice told him to kill his mother. Yet, during the interrogation, he told the investigators that he had been thinking about it for years. And during the Dr. Phil Show interview, he gives another reason.
Did you kill your mother?
Yeah.
And why did you kill her?
She wasn't taking care of my family.
And so because she wasn't taking care of you and your family, you decided to kill her.
In the end, considering all the evidence, documents, and recorded confessions, the court reached a final verdict for the defendant. Zachary Davis was sentenced to 71 years in prison for murdering his mother, Melanie, and attempting to kill his brother, Josh, with the possibility of parole after 51 years. If you enjoyed this video, click here to watch another bizarre case that'll give you chills. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel.